As any longtime homeowner will tell you, eventually your home will need a new roof. After years of exposure to the elements, materials age and their performance could be weakened. While we all want a new roof that is effective and good-looking, there is one critical factor that's often overlooked. Designing Spaces is here in Concord, Ohio, where this lovely home is getting a new roof. Now, it's about a whole lot more than just insulation and attractive shingles. It's also about ventilation. Joining us today is Brian Ray from Owens Corning Roofing. Thanks so much for joining us.
Glad to be back with you.
All right, now why is ventilation so important for a roof?
Yeah, it's actually a misconception that ventilation only benefits you in the summer months or in those hot climate areas. Both are incorrect assumptions. Before going through a re-roof job, homeowners should really understand the role ventilation plays in the overall performance of the roof. You know, a properly ventilated system with proper intake and exhaust really manages heat and moisture, reduces the likelihood of ice damming, and really contributes to a high-performance roof. You know, it's important to also state that you don't have to wait until you're re-roofing your home to improve your ventilation. A lot of roofing contractors can do it to existing roofs as well.
We've talked about ventilation before, but it can be kind of complicated.
It can. That's why at Owens Corning we've tried to simplify it with the ABCs of ventilation.
All right, ABCs, that sounds pretty simple, so tell me more about it.
A is for ample. It's the proper amount of ventilation required to manage heat and moisture, reduce the likelihood of ice damming, and really improve the overall quality of your roof system and roof assembly. A trained roofing contractor should analyze the home, analyze the amount of proper intake, the current amount of exhaust, and make a recommendation to the homeowner to improve that overall ventilation system.
All right, up next, B.
B is for balance. So the proper intake ventilation matches the exhaust ventilation. And what I mean by that is the amount of air flowing into your attic is equal to the amount that's going out of your attic through the exhaust. And so it's all about balance, and that way it creates a stack effect so that fresh, dry air comes in through your intake vent and forces that stale, moist air out of the exhaust vents.
All right, I have a feeling C's coming up next.
C is all about control. So it's controlling the air leakage into the attic from the conditioned living space below. And points where that moisture can leak in there are recessed lights or even bath vents, and that just puts unwanted heat and moisture into your attic. And if you don't have the proper area to go, it could really lead to premature degradation of the roof and overall poor roofing performance. The average homeowner produces gallons of moisture every day in their everyday activities, cooking, bathing, and without proper exhaust ventilation, that moisture has no place to go and can lead to mold, poor indoor air quality, or can impact the overall performance of the system. Conversely, if you have plenty of exhaust vents but very little intake vent, the air is just not moving and you're suffocating the system. That also can lead to poor indoor air quality, mold, and also all that hot, stale air will force its way down in the living space, which will put some unneeded stress on your heating and cooling.
How do we know if a home has an adequate attic ventilation system?
There are a few key indicators. If you have an unfinished attic, inspecting the nails or the metal piping within the attic, if you see rust or it's just abnormally hot in there, that may be an indicator that you have excess heat and moisture trapped in your attic. The other indicator is for cold weather environment, where we encourage homeowners to look at their roof compared to their neighbors. If their neighbor's roof have snow on it, but theirs don't, that may mean that they have excess heat and moisture that's melting that snow. It's that scenario that leads to ice damming, and so we suggest if you see that they contact a trained professional to do an analysis on the roof to make sure that that problem goes away.
Did you say ice damming?
I did. Ice damming is a wall of ice that forms at the lower eave, and it's caused by hot areas of your roof or warm areas of your roof that make that snow and ice melt, and then it refreezes at the colder portions of the roof along the eave. Water gets trapped behind that wall of ice, and without a place to go, forces its way up under the shingles and can cause a lot of damage to your insulation, your drywall, or even your structural materials within your roof.
When most people think of roof ventilation, they think of those spinning turbines, and those can really be an eyesore.
They certainly can. And the other thing I tell homeowners is just because you see them up there doesn't mean they're working properly. Remember, without the proper amount of intake ventilation, no exhaust vent will work. So one of the tips we always share with homeowners is to make sure that their intake vents are free from insulation, so they're not black with insulation, and they're not painted over either. Venture ridge and roof vents are designed to improve the aesthetics of the overall roof and the performance. Remember, we talked about the total protection roofing system. Well, the Venture product portfolio is 2 of the 7, Venture intake and exhaust. So soffit and inflow for intake and ridge and roof vents for the exhaust. Notice the soffit vents are lower than the exhaust vents because hot, humid air rises, which creates a natural flow in the attic.
If someone needs a new roof, how can they go about finding a qualified contractor who can install a proper ventilation system?
The national network of Owens Corning roofing contractors makes it easy to find a professional in your area. Simply visit owenscorning.com/roofing to find a professional in your area or learn more about the Venture ventilation system, a system designed to improve the overall aesthetics and performance of the roof and attic structure. Is a key contributor to the overall performance of the roof and provide the homeowner a comfortable living environment.
Brian, thanks so much for joining us today and teaching us a valuable lesson on roof and attic ventilation. As always, if you'd like to view this episode again, you can log online to designingspaces.tv, and while you're there, you'll also find a link to the Owens Corning website. Here in Concord, Ohio, I'm Nicole Marcelino for Designing Spaces.
You can visit these websites to learn more about the participants on this edition of Designing Spaces.